there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the first show of 2013, the Volpe Bazzo Report. Dominic is down in Florida sipping Mai Tais because he says the winter is too cold up here. And so he's not here, but I do have our guest, our new acting chief, because Gene Tumalo retired. Eric Johansson, welcome to the Volpe Bazzo Report.
Thanks for having me, Andy.
I guess this is your first interview going on with at the taping. I mean, everybody's going to come afterwards and want to know what you think.
Right.
But we've been friends for a while.
Yes,
I mean,
we have.
full disclosure, we have been friends for a while. I've been driving a cab for 17 years, and Eric was, when he was a patrolman, was the guy that fingerprinted me when we actually got fingerprinted at police headquarters. And I get my fingerprint, I get my temporary license that's good for 45 days. I'm not out of the police department 10 minutes. I'm on Central Avenue. I haven't passed the fork at Washington when I get pulled over with my cab, and who comes out? Eric Johansson, Patrolman Johansson, and he says, and I said, "What's the problem?" He says, "I want to let you know I got your ass in my hand." He says, "If you do anything wrong, you'll never get your license." And from then on, and I told him this years later when he made sergeant, I says, if it wasn't for what he did, I probably would have been like all the other drivers getting moving violations in my first couple of years trying to hurry around. I said, but he scared me so much, and he did, that, knock on wood, to this day, driving all the cabs, 17 years as a cab, not one moving violation.
I like to think I educated you.
You did. I just wish more of the guys would get that message across to the new drivers, and because it's actually a fact. You have a 45-day grace period, right?
Yes.
Where you can, because you're going to be now the licensing official.
Correct.
And so you can reject or approve any license. And I thought what you did was a good thing. I mean, do people consider that some sort of harassment that you don't or that the other guys don't?
I hope not. I mean, our goal is to keep the streets safe, and part of the way we do that is by educating drivers, sometimes with punitive measures in the form of a traffic ticket, but there's quite frequently situations where they're just warned and given a stern warning.
I learned one thing. If you're going to be late, no matter how fast you drive, you're not going to be early. No matter what you do, you can't make somebody early that's late. Why break the law?
If you get pulled over, you're going to be even later.
And that's the problem when you get the price of the ticket starts at $250 with a cab.
Or worse, if you get in a car accident.
Right, but the price of the ticket starts at, so that means you're working all day to pay the city of Peekskill. Which is a dumb reason, no offense, why you should be working all day. It should be to make money for yourself and your company. Anyway, how does it feel?
It's a good feeling.
And one of the things I know that you were big on, because I saw this when you became a lieutenant, is getting involved with the public, more visible presence. One thing you did that had never been done before, those last two murders that happened in Peekskill, you actually came to the cabs and said, this is what we're looking for. If you see it, can you notify? You actually knew that we existed and that we can be a help and we want to be a help to the police department. And I would consider that would become under what? Community policing.
Absolutely. Community policing, and just another resource that
right,
that we
but
have
people hear the term.
Right.
Community policing. What is, it's more than the cop that's walking on the sidewalk giving the parking tickets. I know that, but people don't. What is community policing? And what should it mean to, because we're now showing in Yorktown and Mayapack, what should the people out of Peekskill know what it means for them when they come into Peekskill?
Community policing is a philosophical approach to law enforcement and policing in general. The idea is that a police officer in his or her career cultivates and develops relationships with all facets of the community in order to give him or herself resources to put in their figurative toolbox that they can then draw upon to solve a problem in any given situation. So you bring up the situation where we had a homicide or two unfortunate homicides, and
which you solved within a week on both of them was very good.
Yes, excellent police work. I mean, we
Yes,
we have great
was-
we have great police officers in Peekskill. Some of the best investigators in the state, and I'd put them against anybody.
Well, I've said this many times. I mean, I live in Yorktown, and the crime they face is not nearly the crime your guys face, because Yorktown doesn't have that disparity of income levels like Peekskill has.
Well, we are definitely a diverse socioeconomic and cultural community.
Which is why you need the community police, because you have to deal.
Yeah, we deal with a variety of issues, but it's important to know crime and serious crime can happen anywhere at any time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But our officers, I would put them up against any in the state and the country for that matter.
I have
They're
no
the finest
argument.
police officers around. We're very good at what we do. We answer on any given day, anything from a barking dog to a homicide.
What
So-
I find is a joke is I know what the Yorktown cops make. I know what the Peekskill patrolman makes. Yet the Peekskill patrolman, I know, has a harder job. Why the income disparity that a Yorktown cop would make more to deal with shoplifters?
Yeah, I mean,
basically.
I
They're not dealing with, they're not dealing with homicides. They're not dealing with knife robberies. They're dealing with shoplifters.
look, a cop is a cop who has to be on alert.
I agree, but don't...
At all times.
I think the situation, believe me, a Yorktown cop can make a nice living on a Peekskill cop's pay too. Shouldn't the pay be more commensurate with the job?
I think police officers are compensated fairly in Peekskill and Yorktown and around the county and the state. And again, the officers can't be complacent. Anything can happen at any time, anywhere.
I absolutely agree. I'm not disputing that. But let's face it, we all read the police blotter. And we see a lot of people come from the neighboring communities into Peekskill because they have a perception, which I know what community policing is supposed to change that perception, that they can come into your city
Right.
and make mischief.
Well-
What would you say to people that have that perception of Peekskill that want to come in and make mischief in your city?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that's the overwhelming minority of people that come to Peekskill for criminal activity.
Agreed.
Most come for the wonderful things we have to offer.
No, I'm just about reading the police blotter that you see the out of town says, do your own crime in your own town. Why come out?
We publicize that police blotter because we want those who consider coming to town for ill purposes to understand that there's a very good likelihood that they won't be going home as soon as they think. And,
So what do you offer them?
a cup of black coffee and a stale donut.
And room and board, I assume, right?
Yeah, and maybe a blanket.
Oh, okay. In other words, it's not a good idea because I know, because I drive around, you got these streets well patrolled, visibly and invisibly. That's why it says you guys got a great unit.
Well, our officers are very aggressive and very in tune with what's going on in the community. When they see something that's out of order or suspicious, they react. And a lot of times they're proactive. Those that want to come to Peekskill for bad things, stay out, go somewhere else.
Because what I want to know, because I noticed this, a lot of guys don't live in town anymore. It's not like it used to be when we grew up. Everybody lived in town. Is part of their training to familiarize, because they look like, you could never tell that they don't live in town.
The officers.
Yes.
Right.
They like natives. The way they handle things, the way they talk to people, the way they know the business. Is that part of their training?
Well, it is, but it comes with experience, and we have a very experienced patrol force and detective division and support services unit. All of our officers are very, I shouldn't say all are very experienced, but most are veterans of over 5 years. We have some that are newer to the job, but the majority have much more than 5 years on the job, and that experience is invaluable.
Do they all get involved in this community policing?
They do.
Do you make it a part so they get to know the people?
Absolutely, and that's what we encourage. We're a small enough department where we encourage our officers to interact with the community in a way that those they interact with know who they are.
You were born in Peekskill.
Yes.
Correct? Your family has a long history with Peekskill.
Yes.
So you remember the old days.
I do.
And that's what I'm saying. You knew how important it was for the owners to know their neighborhood cop.
Of course.
And all that. Do you impart that on the officers now that it's important to know your neighborhood business?
Absolutely. We encourage our officers to stop in and speak to shop owners, to get out of their cars and walk during their tours, and to interact with the community, and to let them know that they're there to protect and also there to interact with it.
Now, getting into the fact that you have a diverse community, economic and ethnic, a lot of you get these board meetings where you guys are accused, and I've written in your defense, and you know this, about that you do things other than for legal reasons. You may decide it's racial or something like this. There is a training for sensitivity for your cops, right? That it's not racial, these things. These are because they're idiots.
Well, I don't like to refer to people in that.
I can.
Well.
No, what I'm saying is that if you're going to be stupid, it doesn't matter your religion, your color, your ethnic background. If you're going to be stupid, you're going to be caught.
Yes, you are, and you're going to be held responsible for it.
Right, it has nothing to do with anything else.
No.
This is what I mean. But you guys how do you deal with this that when you're accused, that when a patrolman is accused of doing this, what do they have to go through? What happens now?
Well,
because you have to take the accusation. You can't just dismiss it.
Absolutely. We take any accusations of wrongdoing on the part of our officers very seriously. But I'm thankful to report and happy to report that the overwhelming majority of those accusations are unfounded.
Correct, but what happened? Is there an investigation?
Absolutely.
And who does this? You have an internal board that looks into this,
usually
or
our
do
command.
you look? Or does it be left up to you and the captains and all that sort?
The chief would assign a senior supervisor to investigate any allegations of misconduct.
So these things are not swept under the rug.
Absolutely
They're
not.
not taken and said, "Oh, that's just so and so."
No, they're anything but. But thankfully we don't get a lot of those because it doesn't happen. We are very careful in our approach to policing. Let's face it, policing is not always good news in terms of what transpires both in reality and to the people who are calling the police. So we're not dealing with people who are happy to see us at all times, and that can generate a complaint.
I know
or two.
you don't. It's amazing how you've kept your sense of humor because you don't see a happier side of life that often. You see more bad than good because it's the nature of your job.
Yeah.
How tough is it to keep your sense of humor?
I don't think it's tough at all. I think it's just a part of who I am, and
Do you take it home, the job?
Of course, you do. It's a part of you, but again, you take the good part home too. And there's a lot of good done in the policing industry and policing business, and certainly here in Peekskill.
I asked you in a 5-question thing once, what was your most satisfying moment, and you had mentioned one. Well, now I think that we did that. By the way, I want to let you know you finally hit 1,000 views on that. 400 in the last 30 days.
Oh, wow.
People have gone back to that interview. I'm going to ask you now, 3 years later, what is your most satisfying moment being a cop that you said, this is why I want to be a cop, or why I became a cop?
Well, I
something that meant that much that still sticks out in your mind today.
You see some horrible things as a police officer, and the recent homicide of a local figure.
Yeah, very popular, very friendly cab driver. Everybody knew him. Nobody had a bad word to say about him, against his ex-wife or whatever.
Getting hugs from a family member that was thankful for our job and bringing justice to his family. I mean, that sticks out very prominently. Not just because it just happened, but I've had that happen before in some other serious crimes, and it stays with you.
This is what I
gratifying.
got into this for.
It's tough. It's bittersweet because somebody's in so much pain, but at least you did what you were supposed to do to help possibly ease that pain and to give a sense of closure.
And apparently you did.
Yeah.
Now, when a crime like that happens, they say the first thing you look at, most crimes are done by people that know each other. Was the first instinct to look internal, or because it was a cab driver to look external? Really,
the first thing we do in a situation like that is try and keep an open mind. You just don't know where your leads may take you, and you don't want to close down any potential source or any potential lead. So you cast a wide net, which is what we did in that instance, and we were able to bring it in, and within less than probably 25 hours, I think it was 25 hours, we had 2 under arrest for murder, which they can't
Indicted now.
They can't even make a TV show about that because it happened so quick.
And indicted.
And indicted, yeah.
You've been indicted for this.
Yeah, and that's a testament and a tribute to the professionalism and the investigative abilities of our police officers. Again, they are the finest in the country.
Well, yeah, because you just had the other one on Washington Street. A guy just moves into town. He's only in town, and you guys put just as much effort in that one as you did from the guy that you knew Terry Lee, let's face it. You knew the man, so it was a personal thing. But here was a guy you didn't know. Yet, within 72 hours, you had the suspect?
No, within about 7 hours.
7? Oh, even better than that.
Two
well, I'm only going by, I guess the news drag is behind.
Yeah, we again, very quickly.
I said you took it with the same seriousness.
And as we do all crimes, we investigate. Naturally, we'll put more resources towards the more serious crimes, but any crime we take serious. And our cops, they know who they're dealing with. They know the people that are out there doing wrong.
And that stems from the community policing part, right?
Yeah.
They know the territory.
They are in tune with what goes on in the streets, and when they see something wrong, they know it and they act.
Now, as a lieutenant, as a chief now, even when you were a sergeant, when you saw somebody not doing their best, did you say something, or did you let them know that they should be getting their butt in gear?
Well, of course. The role of a supervisor is to cultivate their employees or their subordinate employees and develop them into better employees, better officers in this case, and that's what I do.
You can't worry about them liking you for this. Hopefully, in the end, when they find out you're right, they do like you. But
like is a very broad term. I prefer respect.
That's
what I strive to gain, the respect of all I encounter. You don't have to like me, but I strive to make you respect.
There's about 20 years between you and Gene, right? Maybe 25.
Yeah, about that, yeah.
So I'm going to ask you now, because you are younger, do you believe that your youth will now be an advantage, a more energetic approach to leading the troops?
Well, I definitely have the energy to do it, and that's not to say that Chief Tumalo didn't.
That's not the question I'm asking you.
I'm
saying everybody comes in with a new perspective because where they are in life. Now, I know Gene was a good teacher to you.
Yes.
I don't doubt that. But now you still bring something in your part of life. Do you feel that that's going to bring a different tenor than what Gene brought? Because Gene was from the old school. You're more of a modern cop.
Modern? Okay, you talked to me before about the old days. I thought I was getting old there for a minute.
You grew up in them. You know. See, you're like me, Donnie Peters in Yorktown, and we're from a transitional generation.
Right.
We know the area when it was small, more intimate, to where it is now, more litigious and all this.
Yes.
You've seen the transit. Do you believe that being in a transitional generation gives you an advantage now to move forward, where you know what didn't work, what does work, what should be emphasized more?
I think so.
That's what I mean about bringing this new energy, this insight.
I'll draw on my energy and the things that I know, the things that I've learned along the way, and I'm very confident that I have what it takes to lead the department as it continues to provide the very best in service to the citizens of Peekskill.
No, talk about services to the citizens of Peekskill. This is airing the January 2nd. Snow. What should people be looking for and doing in emergency situations as we go into the winter?
Well, a few years ago, the mayor and council changed the snow ordinance law.
And we haven't done the show since then.
And the parking laws. And they've made it much friendlier to the citizens, and it's nice. It's nice what they've done. No longer is it that you can't park on the street or only on the alternate side from December 1st through April 15th. Instead, it's only when there's forecast for snow. And but that does.
Who calls that?
That's called by the police chief and the director of city services. They make a determination based on weather models and weather forecasts and whether or not they believe that they need to have cars off the streets for plowing and snow
Now,
removal
where do people
operations.
get this information?
That information it's posted everywhere. We put it out in press releases. It goes
Everywhere is a relative term you're talking
Yeah,
to.
we put it out.
Where do people go to get this information when they hear on Channel 12 or they see on their weather bug on their computer that there may be some
If there is forecast for any inclement weather, whether it be snow, freezing rain, sleet, even rain, you may think it's going to rain, but that could change to ice and snow, especially
This time of year,
in the
yeah.
wintertime. So you really check the city website, www.cityofpeekskill.com. Check. You can go to the Peekskill Police Department Facebook page, our Twitter page.
You got a Facebook page?
We do. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We're the first police department in New York State to have a Twitter page. And we
What about radio?
Radio, WLNA, WHUD, cable.
Yeah, they're on
public
Cablevision
access,
if they're watching our show, so Channel 12 will have it.
We put it out everywhere.
Now, don't you have a command and control center now?
We do. We have a communication center. We've
Yes,
had
I
one.
mean-
We've always had one. Yes.
Right, because, so...
And we like to do. Of course, you can call and ask, but we like to discourage that because the more that people that call, it takes away from other things. We put it in places
what
that
I'm
you
trying
can
to say
find
is you
it.
have a communication center, so there's no delay in getting the information out to the proper outlets.
Correct.
Whether it be internet, radio, television.
Correct. We get it out.
You have...
Click of a button. I mean, the technology today allows us to disseminate information to a very broad range of
You
people.
realize if it wasn't for Thomas Edison, you'd be all doing that by candlelight?
Yeah.
Anyway, they want to do a residency requirement. They passed the residency requirement, but there is a waiver.
Yes.
I believe that knowing the job that you've done as a lieutenant, as a sergeant, that shouldn't be a problem. I do believe this. I just don't understand why they would do this because you have kids in school.
Yes.
And it's not fair. I mean, there's a reason why a lot of the cops moved out of respective towns they patrolled, more for their kids so they didn't get picked on because maybe you gave their parents a ticket or something like that. And I never understood the mentality for that. Your job is not the city manager's job.
Right.
I understand the city manager. I can understand an elected official. Sorry. But your job can get repercussions.
Right. Well, the mayor and council have taken that direction. I certainly support their vision for the police department and the police chief, and that's to have one who is very highly visible in the city, and I plan to be that.
I understand that. What I'm just saying is I don't think this will be a problem because I think in the end, next year when all this happens, that they're going to realize it's not just the chief person, Eric Johansson, or whoever the chief is, not just the chief. There are other collateral effects that come into play, and that's why I think that's why they gave Gene the waiver.
Perhaps
don't forget back then he had young kids.
I'm sure that came into it. I can just.
I
say
mean, everybody talks about the kids.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
I'm
happy to be in the city here. I love
know
the
what
city.
I'm trying to say is I think they made a good decision with you. I think it's a wise decision. I've told you that privately, and I've said it I've defended the jobs you've done. I think I've talked about the time. I know I wrote about the time you had just made lieutenant, and they had that, and they were doing the Route 9 construction, the reconstruction, and the wall fell. So there's big flooding everywhere and a mud pile. And there were you standing in your nice lieutenant's white shirt, drenched in rain, trying to direct traffic at Washington and South. You've always been hands-on. And I assume you're going to be a hands-on chief.
Well, before you could be chief, you have to be a cop. And I plan on staying as a cop. I'm a police officer first, and that's who I am and what
Because
I'll be.
I've talked to the other cab drivers, and they're all looking forward. They said, that there's no really negative comeback on you being elevated. They feel that, with the rules in place now to get rid of the bad drivers, which was the idea of the rules. and they've been very effective. You got rid of a bad company. I think you got rid of, what, 3 bad drivers at this point in time?
Oh, at least. We're very aggressive in that approach, and we believe in allowing the citizens and those who choose to use the taxi cab transportation the ability to get in a cab and know that they're safe, know that they have a safe driver.
I'll tell you what changed is that there's no longer the perception, oh, they're all cab drivers, they're all the same. You have to admit there was a perception that for a long time, every cab driver was treated like the worst cab driver. Now, I guess this must start with you and also Chris Bazzo, who is the cop in charge of taxis, that now the good drivers are respected for being good drivers. They're not just lumped in, and I know that change, and the drivers saw that change. Was this a conscious effort?
Oh, absolutely. And Officer Vazios, our taxi czar.
Okay. I was being nice. I still need him. I gotta be nice.
He takes his job very seriously, and that's to the benefit of the Peekskill residents and
the cab drivers. Nobody wants to be in a dangerous car. You can't have a car break down on you and not be in it.
That's right.
I mean, it doesn't just affect the passenger.
Very fair point.
Safety, and you put a premium on the safety of cars.
Absolutely.
And this is important, and like I said, the cab drivers understand that. But they also understood that it's not just, they're cab drivers mentality. I mean, one of the things you instituted, you gave us a great section in the train station to park the cabs so we don't have to be chased all over the place. And you found out that it was the commuters that were more of a pain in the butt than the drivers.
The cab driver is often overlooked, but is really an ambassador to the community. And they're oftentimes the very first people that visitors interact with.
That's why you have a dress code now.
Absolutely.
You instituted which you couldn't wear code.
Right. Someone gets off the train, the very first person they meet in Peekskill is very likely a taxi driver, and we take that very seriously, and we want a good image for the city, and we strive in many different ways.
No, people are going to know. They read about the cutbacks in the paper. We'll do this quickly. There were some cutbacks that were in the police department. You knew about this. You had to help form a budget with the council. Will the residents of Peekskill see the effects of that, or will you be able to overcome some of these cutbacks and still maintain the service that people of Peekskill have come to expect?
We will continue maintaining the services they come to expect and deserve. That goes without say. Will they notice? I mean, it's always possible. The short of it is we lost several positions.
I know you did.
That doesn't come without consequences.
So you got your work cut out for you.
Yes, we do.
Anyway, I want to thank you folks for watching this first show of the new year. I want to congratulate you on your position. And I tell this now in public. I think you're going to be here for a long time. And I hope you will always come to my show when I ask.
I sure will.
Because I like people to be informed of what's going on with the legal things going on in Peekskill to inform.
Absolutely.
Anyway, these were what I say. What say you? And Eric, thank you for coming. Good evening. We'll see you next time. Have a good and remember, look for those snow stuff on the interview on the
hopefully
internet.
It won't snow again.
Oh yeah. And you want to commit crimes in Peekskill, they got a room waiting.
That's very small, but it's there.
Next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an